Okay, happy Sabbath. Happy Sabbath, everyone. So we know this is taking place during the week, which means this is not your a week. This is not the weekly Sabbath. This is a feast day. And we praise the Most High for allowing us to see another feast day. What feast day is this? This is new moon. And what the new moon means is a new month. That's what the new moon is, a new month. We celebrate a new month, which means we are celebrating the Most High has allowed us to live, to be here, to worship Him, and to be here with each other. So it's a celebration. And on this particular new moon, we are going to discuss, we're gonna go over Purim. We know we got Purim coming up, so or Purim. However, I know everybody pronounce it differently. Got that coming up, and we're gonna go over the history. So before we get into that, let's get into the reading of the law. Our reading of the law tonight is Leviticus 18.
Leviticus chapter 18, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do. Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Ye shall do my judgments and keep my ordinances, to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him, to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. The nakedness of thy father, or the nakedness of thy mother, shall thou not uncover.
Now I want to hold on right there. Now y'all notice that this chapter starts off with the Most High saying, the things that you did when you were in Egypt, you should not do them now under my law. This so what y'all reading is God is saying, this is what they were doing in Egypt. So what we're about to go over now is the things that God saying you gotta turn away from that. Because that's what y'all was used to. Now it's time to change. Go ahead.
Verse 8. The nakedness of thy father's wife shall thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she is born at home or born abroad.
For those that don't understand, that means if your father marries another woman and that woman already has a daughter, you cannot marry her. You cannot uncover the nakedness of your sister, your stepsister. Is what that's saying. Okay, go ahead.
The nakedness of thy son's daughter, or of thy daughter's daughter, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover, for theirs is thine own nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife's daughter, begotten of thy father, she is thy sister. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's sister. She is thy father's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, for she is thy mother's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's brother. Thou shalt not approach to his wife. She is thy aunt. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy daughter-in-law. She is thy son's wife. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife. It is thy brother's nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter. Neither shalt thou take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswoman. It is wickedness. Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister to vex her, to uncover her nakedness, beside the other in her lifetime. Also, thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness, as long as she is put apart for her uncleanness. Moreover, Tell him don't rip that. He's up in that book. Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife, to defile thyself with her. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech. Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not lie with mankind, as with womankind. It is abomination. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. And the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomited out her inhabitants. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled. That the land spew not you out also when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut from among their people. Therefore, ye shall keep my ordinance, that ye commit not any of these abominable customs, which were committed before you, and that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am the Lord your God.
All praises. That's the reading of the law. Let's get Revelation 14 and 12. Try to get through it.
Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus.
All praise to the Most High. So that's our doctrine. Keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. So you cannot you can keep the commandments, but you don't have faith. It's to no avail. You can have faith, but if you don't keep the commandments, to no avail. You got to have both. It's balance. So let's get into today's class, or tonight, if you will. Esther and Purim. I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Let's get Romans 15 and 4.
Romans chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the.
So whenever we celebrate a holy feast or whatever commandments we may keep, whatever we do, we want to have understanding on why we do it. Okay, the Most High made sure we had that understanding. He put it in the law for us, so that you would know that whatever you're reading, it has a history. Whatever He command you to do, it has a history. And like all our feast days, they're all memorials, and the memorials come from things that we've overcome in the past. So it's a celebration. Get 1 Corinthians 5 and 8.
1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 8. Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth.
So you're supposed to keep the feast with a clean heart, is what that's saying. No malice, no leavened bread. That means you're supposed to keep it in pureness. Your body should be clean. Your spirit should be clean. So whenever we celebrate feasts, it's a joyous thing. We celebrating our conquering, our overcoming. The heathens put us down. We celebrating our forefathers. We celebrating Christ. We celebrating God. So just kind of let y'all know. Be happy in this. So let's go ahead and get into tonight's main topic. Esther chapter. Let's get Esther, the book of Esther. Chapter 1. Let's start at verse 1.
Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, this is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 170 provinces, that in those days, when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the palace, in the third year of his reign, he made a feast unto all the princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace.
So you gotta understand, King Ahasuerus, in his kingdom were other nations. It wasn't just his people. It was a mixture of people. And amongst those people were the Jews. But he himself really didn't know. He didn't know the difference. Okay, so we just kind of going over. So he made a feast because he was a great king. He was a mighty king. I think he reigned after Nebuchadnezzar. So he was proud of his kingdom. He was proud of what he had accomplished. So he will host these great feasts and invite everybody in his kingdom to come to them. Get chapter 2, and let's get verse 1.
Esther chapter 2, verse 1. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him.
I'm sorry. I messed up. Go back to chapter 1. Let's get verse 8.
Esther chapter 1, verse 8. And the drinking was according to the law. None did compel. For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure. Also Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to King Ahasuerus.
So Ahasuerus, at this time, his queen was Vashti. Okay? And while he's doing his celebrations, she's also having a celebration. But notice it lets you know that the celebration was in the king's house. Go ahead.
On the seventh day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Muhammad, Biztha, Habanah, Bigtha, and Abathar, Zethar, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on.
So remember we read earlier, he was proud of his kingdom. Well, as his celebrations went on, at one point he got married. When they say married with wine, that means he had a lot of alcohol in his system. And that man, alcohol turn some people into, have you ever heard Huggy Bear? They happy, I love you, man. So he was happy. He wanted to show. So now he want to show off his queen. Well, let's see what happened. Go ahead.
But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him.
So the queen, once he called for her to come, she said no. She don't want to come. She said, I don't want. I'm not trying to be shown off to everybody. But just like our laws, their laws were the same in this matter. Not all the same, but the husband has rulership over the household. Verse 13.
Then the king said to the wise men which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the nets unto him was Kashanah, Shethar, Amatha, Tashish, Marias, Maranah, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to the law?
So the king asked his men, his right hand men, what should we do to Vashti for disobeying me according to the law? Let's see what they said. Go ahead.
Because she have not performed the commandment of the king, Ahasuerus, by the chamberlains.
So we gonna say, I'm gonna just to make it a little quicker. What they basically came up with was she needs to be put away. They said she needs to be put away because she is the queen. And if she says no to you, all the women in the kingdom under her are going to do the same. So what we're going to do, instead of her making an example out of you, we're going to make an example out of her. Put her away and let all the other women see what happens when when you're disobedient to your husband. So that's what he did. He put her away. So now he need him a new queen. Now go to chapter 2. Let's get verse 1.
Esther chapter 2, verse 1. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king.
So his servant said, "Let us bring you some fair young virgins." When y'all hear that word virgin, that means a woman that has not been married. Okay. So they said, "Let us bring you some unmarried women before you." Go ahead.
And let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Higi, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the woman, and let their things for purification be given them, and let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so.
So they say, "Let us bring the women before you, and let us prepare them for you." So they had to be purified. So it's a custom before a woman becomes a wife, she has to first off be taught to be a wife, and she has to be pure. She has to be clean. It's been a long time custom. Most men don't want a woman that's been passed around. So she had to be pure. So they said these women gonna all go through a purification test, and they had to do this for a year. Okay, where we at? Yeah, read that.
Now in Shushan, the palace, there was a certain Jew, whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite.
So this is Mordecai. It's talking about him. Mordecai is the uncle, or really more like father figure of Esther. Okay, jump to verse 8.
Verse 8. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many nations were gathered together to Shushan, the palace, to the custody of Hegai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Hegai, keeper of the woman.
So it was Mordecai's idea that Esther she joined in with the virgins to become the new queen. And the reason being because of the reason Mordecai suggested this is because of the great things she could do for her people. Because if y'all don't know, this is captivity for our people. So what as a way to kind of help our people get ahead, and it'd be nice to have somebody up there at the top, one of us. So it was Mordecai. It was the Holy Spirit. It wasn't just him that had him do this. And you were gonna see what it brings forth. Go ahead.
And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him. And he speedily gave her things for purification, which such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maids unto the best place of the house of women. Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it.
So remember that it was Mordecai commanded Esther that she does not tell the king what her nationality is. Okay, go ahead.
And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the woman's house, to know how Esther did, and what should become of her. Now, when every maid's turn was come to go in to King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the woman, for so were the days of their purifications accomplished, to wit 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of the women.
Y'all see that? So 12 months to be purified. Go ahead.
Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out to the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women, to the custody of Sharashgaz, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name. Now, when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Hagar, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the woman, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her. So Esther, say something.
No, you could go ahead.
So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his house, royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebet, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti.
Now, the reason he chose her was because of her humility. But all the other women chose something to partake with him. She chose nothing. So he saw how humble she was, how great, how she knew how to carry herself. She was respectable. So he chose her to be queen. Now go to verse 20.
Chapter 2, verse 20. Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had charged her. But Esther did the commandment of Mordecai like as when she was brought up with him.
Meaning she respected him as a father. So she had not showed her kindred, meaning she didn't tell him what her nationality was. Go ahead.
In those days, while Mordecai sat at the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus.
So at a point, two of the king's guards had seek to kill him. Okay, they wanted to kill the king. Go ahead.
And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore, they were both hanged on a tree, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king.
So Mordecai found out about the plot to kill the king, and he warned the king, and the men that was going to kill him were killed for that. So after that, Mordecai's name was put in a book to be remembered, meaning he would have favor from the king. So remember that, okay? Go to chapter 3. Let's get verse 1.
Esther chapter 3, verse 1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hamida, the Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
So Haman was at this point, the king appointed somebody under him, and that's Haman, and he would be next to power with the king. But Haman wasn't like King Ahasuerus. He had a wicked spirit. Verse 2.
And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman.
So listen to that. It said all the king's servants bowed and reverenced Haman. Now there's a servitude that we are allowed to keep, and that's to be respectful. It's to not cross the line with those that are above us, right? But this was a different type of reverence. They were bowing to him as to worship him. Go ahead.
For the king had so commanded concerning him, but Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence.
So let's see why Mordecai didn't bow. Go to Exodus 20 and verse 3.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
So that's the reverence part. It says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Was that on that?
Verse 5. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them.
There you go. That's exactly what I wanted to. Verse 5. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them. So that was a commandment Mordecai was keeping. Okay? Go ahead. Let's go back. Esther chapter 3, verse 3.
Esther chapter 3, verse 3. Then the king's servant, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, why transgresseth thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
So Haman was full of wrath because he knew that the Jews, they don't have the same custom as everyone else. Go ahead.
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus.
So that should tell you right there. If he just had a problem with Mordecai, it would just be him. But he hated the Jews because he knew that those are God's people. Go ahead.
Even the people of Mordecai. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is the lot before Haman, from day to day and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar.
Go ahead.
And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people.
He said they laws are diverse from all our people. So he knew that because they were the Jews. All Mordecai told him was, I'm a Jew. So he knew, oh, you're a Jew, meaning y'all God's people. Go ahead.
Neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
So Haman basically going to the king and let him know, we need to get rid of these people. They are contrary to us. They're against us. Go ahead.
If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasury.
So he basically put a hit out on the Jews. He said, I'll pay thousands of dollars to those that carry out this decree. So remember this part because it's going to be important later on. We ain't got far to go, but it's going to be important. Remember that part. Go ahead.
And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy. And the king said to Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemed good to thee. Then were the king's scribes called into the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people, of every province, according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus was it written and sealed with the king's ring.
So it's all over the kingdom, all over their land. Everybody, if you got Jews in your land, kill them. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey.
So he said, do away with them, take them, destroy them, from the young to the old. So he wanted to wipe them out. And it's not all based off just Mordecai, letting you know he know who they are. When someone hates the Jews, it means they hate God. Okay, always remember that. Now, chapter 4. So Haman decrees to destroy the Jews. And let's get verse 1.
Esther chapter 4, verse 1. When Mordecai perceived that all was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry.
So Mordecai, at this point, and this is a custom for us. Whenever we face pain, like hardship, like something that causes us to mourn, we fast. So that's what Mordecai did. He instantly, once he heard what Haman had decreed, he fasted. Go ahead.
And came even before the king's gate, For none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth.
Verse 3.
And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was a great mourning among the Jews, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth
So,
and ashes.
so all the Jews like, okay, we gotta fast. They about to kill every last one of us. So they all said, let's all fast, all throughout whatever land they was in. Get John 15 and 13. So Mordecai fasts, Israel fasts.
John chapter 15, verse 13. Greater love have no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends.
Go now. Before you go. Let's get another one. Go to Esther chapter 4 and verse 9. Esther chapter 4 verse 4.
Esther chapter 4 verse 4. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hatak, one of the king's chamberlains, who he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was.
So Esther heard about it. She tried to help Mordecai, but he didn't want the clothing. So now she sent someone, a messenger, to ask him what's going on. Go ahead.
So Hatak went forth to Mordecai to the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them.
So the man, Mordecai told the messenger everything that the messenger of Esther, everything that Haman had commanded, and now he's gonna go back and tell Esther. Go ahead.
And Mordecai told him, verse 8. Also, he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, to make request before him for her people.
So Mordecai request to Esther was that she go and speak on the Jews' behalf. Verse 9.
And Hatak came and told Esther the words of Mordecai.
Now, that's why I wanted to get that. Get 1 John 3 and 16. So we read John 15 and 13 says it's a great thing when a man lay down his life for his people.
1 John chapter 3, verse 16. Hereby perceive we the love of God, because he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren.
So when Esther, go back to chapter 4 and read verse 10.
Esther chapter 4, verse 10. Again, Esther spake unto Hatak, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days.
So remember, Mordecai request to Esther was that she go before the king and plead for the life of the Jews. Esther responds by saying, if she goes before the king without being summoned, he's going to kill her. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Verse 12. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews.
So Mordecai hit her with the, if they kill us, they're gonna kill you too. Go ahead.
For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, Then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
So Mordecai prophesied to him. He said, this is why the Most High probably put you in this position for a time like this. He said, we need this. This is what you was called to do. And he let her know. Either you go before him and he slay you there, or you at some point you're gonna be killed because they're gonna find out you with you. So that's why we pulled the scripture about laying down your life for your people. And that's what she decided to do. Give chapter 5 and verse 1.
Esther chapter 5, verse 1. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house.
So Esther devised a plan on how to get the king's attention. Remember, she couldn't go before him because she'd be killed. So basically she would get him to come to her. Go ahead.
And it was so when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was laid in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king unto her, what wilt thou, Queen Esther, and what is thy request? It shall be even given thee to the half of the kingdom.
Okay, so let me go back. She went before him, but the Most High put the spirit on him to where he accepted her being there. He held out the scepter. So now he asked her, what is that you require? Remember. So now she gets to say what she wants from him. Go ahead.
Esther answered, if it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. Then the king said, cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther has said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared.
So Esther prepared a banquet for the king and Haman.
And the
Hold
king
on.
said,
you get right there. Jump down to verse 10.
Verse 10. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends, and Zeresh his wife.
So after the banquet, it was real successful. And Haman was in good spirits because at the banquet, he got another promotion. But after he left the banquet, he ran into Mordecai. And he was angry when he seen him. But because he was so merry, his heart merry with wine, and he got some good news, he didn't address Mordecai this time. But he was still mad, angry with him. Now, go ahead, verse 10. Yeah.
Verse 10. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends, and Zeresh his wife.
So look at what he tells them. Go ahead.
And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. Haman said, moreover, yea, Esther the queen did not let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared, but myself. And tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king.
So Haman, he feeling good. He got promoted. He happy, and he getting invited to another banquet. So while doing that banquet, he got the king just showered him with gifts. Esther spoke highly of him. He felt good because couldn't nobody else come to the banquet. This was big, just him and the king. Go ahead.
Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate.
But see, after he's talking to his wife, right, and his family, he kind of goes back and says, and all this is good. I'm glad about this. But he hates Mordecai. He said, all this is nothing. I still want to kill Mordecai. That's how he feeling. It's deep in his heart. He hate the Jews. Go ahead.
Then said Zeresh his wife, and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made unto 50 cubits high. And tomorrow speak thou unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereof. Then go thou and merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made.
Now they don't know who Mordecai is, and also remember what he did for the king. So they telling they feeling proud like him. They like, you the man. Tomorrow, just have him hang tomorrow, and then go to your dinner with the king and the queen. They don't understand the ties that Mordecai has, and they puffed up just like Haman. Now go to chapter 2. We're gonna backtrack for a second. Go to chapter 2 and get verse 21 again.
Chapter 2, verse 21.
So Haman hated God's people, and before the banquet, he is about to go. He gonna make a side trip to hang Mordecai. Go ahead, Doc.
In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigdan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth, and sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore, they were both hanged on a tree, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king.
So they wrote in the book of the Chronicles what Mordecai had done for the king, but King Ahasuerus had forgot about it. Okay, now go to Esther 6 and verse 1.
Esther chapter 6, verse 1. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records to the Chronicles, and they were read before the king.
Now, y'all remember when all the Jews and Mordecai himself was fasting? What happens when Israel fasts? So we have a day called Day of Atonement. On that day, the entire nation is supposed to fast. It's a commandment. Matter of fact, it's such a big commandment that anybody that eats is supposed to be cut off. Why? What happens during that fast? Who knows? What you got? What happens during the fast on the Day of Atonement? What is going on? But what's happening? Go ahead, Doc. That's when he hears you. So what's happening now is what y'all see. That fasting paid off because that's why the king is tossing and turning in his sleep, because God is making him remember Mordecai. Remember, Mordecai's supposed to be killed on this next day before the banquet. Now go back to it. Esther 6 and verse 1 again.
Verse 1. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the Chronicles.
That's the Most High put that on his spirit. Go get the book of the records. Why, out of everything, why are you waking up thinking about the book of records? Go ahead.
And they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus.
So he see the records of how Mordecai saved him. Go ahead.
And the king said, what honor and dignity have been done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him.
So they haven't so that's why he forgot about it, because Mordecai didn't get nothing for it. So he asked him, what have been done to Mordecai for saving my life? Go ahead.
And the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him.
So by no coincidence, at the same time the king getting these records, here's Mordecai standing in court to bring forth his petition to go ahead and hang Mordecai. So the king like, okay, well, let me hear you. Go ahead.
And the king's servant said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, let him come in. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, What shall be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor?
So before Haman could even speak, the king asking him, "What should be done unto the man that who saves the king?" Go ahead. Who the king delighted. Go ahead.
Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to do honor more than to myself?
Now Haman a prideful man, so he thinking, "This guy, you got to be talking about me. You talk about honoring somebody." Go ahead.
And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighted to honor, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king useth to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal, whom the king delighted to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor.
So basically, the man, the king. Remember, Haman think he's talking about him, so he's telling the king, "This all should be done for me." But the king, this is what Haman is thinking in his head. But he's telling the king Haman's telling the king, these are the things he's gonna be honored greatly. He's gonna be taken by a horse throughout the city, and everybody gonna know of his greatness. Read verse 10.
Then the king said to Haman, make haste and take the apparel and the horses, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew.
So he said, "Hey, go do that for Mordecai the Jew, whom Haman was on his way to hang, who was coming to request a hanging." He said, "Go do that for Mordecai." Go ahead.
That sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken.
He said, "Don't." He said, "Everything you spoke to me, do that for Mordecai." So y'all know Haman. Remember, Haman hate Mordecai, right? So he said, so Haman pissed off now. We almost there, y'all. Get Esther chapter 7 and verse 1.
Chapter 7, verse 1. So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther the queen.
So jump down to verse 3. So now they at the banquet after they done honored Mordecai.
Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition.
So Esther's asking another favor of the king. She asks for her life to be spared. Jump down to verse 6.
And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
So Esther told the king, Esther was troubled. Remember, she did all this to save her people. So the request, she let the king know that my people are about to be killed. The king had no idea. So so it's pointed out, he didn't know there was Esther people that were going to be killed. So Esther let it be known it was Haman who decreed to kill her people. Go ahead.
And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen, for he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king.
So now Haman's scared because now it's revealed that the people that he sought to kill was the queen's people. Go ahead.
Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the palace of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. And Harbonah, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold, also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon.
So Haman had already set up the gallows for Mordecai before he even came to the king to do it. So he just knew it was going to happen. But now, read verse 10.
So they hang Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
So you don't mess with God's people. So Haman was hanged on the very gallows that he prepared for Mordecai. But wait, there's more. Chapter 8, verse 1.
Chapter 8, verse On that day, did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her.
So after receiving Mordecai receiving favor, Esther received favor. She was given power to reverse what Haman had done. Okay, so that decree that Haman had sent out earlier, Esther went to the king and said, "Can you reverse that?" And he gave her the power to reverse it. But here's the thing about people that hate Jews: everybody, the decree was sent out, but not everybody respected it. So some people still want to follow through with what Haman had said. They still want to kill the Jews. Jump to chapter 9. Yo.
Esther chapter 9, verse 1. Now in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, and the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had ruled over them.
So I'm sorry.
That hated them.
So basically, what that says is the people that were decreed to kill the Jews, they didn't care the Jews now had power over them. They were still going to kill them. Go ahead.
The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus to lay hand on such as sought their heart, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all the people.
So the Jews was not just they decided to fight back, and they were prevailing. Go ahead.
And all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies, and the officers of the king helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them.
So it wasn't just the Jews; it was officers and everything helping them fight against those that was out to kill them. Go ahead.
For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. But this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. Thus, the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughtered and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. And in Shushan the palace, the Jews slew and destroyed 500 men.
So they just killing people, but it's those who sought to kill them. And so this is a day of war. Go ahead.
And Parmadai, and Delphine, and Aspathai, and Porthadai, and Adeline, and Aridadai, and Pashamathai, and Arisane, and Aradai, and Jerizadai, the 10 sons of Haman, the son of Hamadai, the enemy of the Jews, slew they, but on the spoil laid they not their hand.
So they slew all Haman's sons. Go ahead.
And on that day, the number of those that were slain in Shushan the palace was brought before the king. And the king said unto Esther the queen, the Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan the palace, and the 10 sons of Haman. What have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now, what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. Or what is thy request further? And it shall be done.
So now he asking her, what more do you want? Not in a negative way. He's saying, what else do you want? And it should be done for you. Go ahead.
Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Jews which are in Shushan to do tomorrow also according unto this day's decree. And let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows.
Now, Esther is a woman. But you see how that spirit of Israel is strong. She said, hang his sons. Go ahead.
And the king commanded it so to be done. And the decree was given at Shushan, and they were hanged, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. For the Jews that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day also of the month of Adar, and slew 300 men at Shushan. But on the prey they laid not their hand.
Go ahead.
But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together, and stood for their lives, and had rest from their enemies, and slew of their foes 75,000, but they laid not their hands on the prey.
Go ahead.
On the 13th day of the month of Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested day, and made it a day of feasting and gladness.
So they on the 13th and 14th day, they rested after the slaughter, after the war, after killing all these guys. They rested and feasted. Go ahead.
But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th thereof, and on the 15th day of the same day rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness.
So they ordained a day of feasting and gladness. Go ahead.
Therefore, the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day and of sending portions one to another.
So throughout all these kingdoms, all the Jews are making the 14th and 13th days of feasting and gladness. And on this day, they also sent portions of goodness. They also sent like gifts to each other, like they gave to each other. It was like clothes, food, things like that, needs. Go ahead.
And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar and the 15th day of the same yearly.
So they said, so Mordecai decreed that it should be because they rested on those days, it should be kept, and it should be kept a custom, feasting and gladness, and the giving of things. Go ahead. Yearly.
As the days were in, the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month was which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days a feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another.
So remember, at first they were afraid because it was a decreasing down to kill them, but God reversed it, and now they were at peace. They had slain their enemies. So now this is where the whole feast day of Purim comes from. Go ahead.
And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, as and as Mordecai had written unto them.
So remember Mordecai said, give gifts, send gifts, feast, be merry. Go ahead.
Because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, and Agagite, the enemy of the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast Pur, that is, the lot to consume them and to destroy them.
Let's go verse 26.
Wherefore they called these days Purim, after the name of Pur. Therefore, for all the words of this letter, and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them.
So that's where Purim comes from. Though it's from our people, the Most High having mercy on our people, reversing the decree that was sent out against them, and our people being glad turn from sorrow to gladness. So they feasted, gave gifts. They were resting because when you got a heaviness on you, it weighs your spirit down. Sorrow can be heavy, right? It can also drain you. But so when it reversed from that, and now you in a good place, they slayed their enemies. The Most High had delivered them, and He used Esther to do it. So I'm gonna cut it off right there. That is Purim and Esther and Purim. We're gonna go ahead and end it off right there. So all praise to the Most High, right, God, for that. Hope there's some understanding out. Let's get the shout outs. Sure.
Shout out Marcus Wallace. He said Happy New Moon. Shout out Jasmine Brooks. She said, Shalom, family. Happy New Moon. Shout out Tiffany Gordon. She said, Shalom and Happy New Moon. I think that's it for now.
So all praise to the Most High God. Happy new moon to everyone. Let's go ahead and get this feast going. Let's get the memorial.
Book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood, he said unto them, Why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman hath done, be told for memorial of her.
So that's the memorial of Mary Magdalene, how she repented she had a lot of sin on her, and she repented, and she prepared Christ for his burial. Christ loved her for that. So as a result, he gave her a memorial and commanded that whenever the word go out, her memorial goes out. So again, all praise to the Most High God. To the 12 tribes scattered abroad, I send this message out saying, keep fighting the good fight. Our salvation is at hand. Let's keep pushing this word. Keep teaching our people who they are. Don't give up. Times may get hard, but the Most High got us. Our people was literally days away from being destroyed. Most High came in clutch. He already knew. Had Esther in place. That's why Romans 15:4 says, everything written for our learning, so that we have peace. And understand, no matter how bad things may get, long as you serving the Most High, he got you. He gonna never let you down. So always remember that. I'm talking to myself as well. So again, all praises to the Most High God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel. And with that I say, Shalom.